we have to think. Why? Because we have to enhance the strategies of assessment and evaluation. So to enhance the strategies, we have to learn, we have to understand it better, we have to internalize it. So it is not the dictionary word assessment alone. It is much beyond that. So I will put a Menti link. The Menti link is given here. All occasion and instances when assessment is done, right? I will click it. Let it come. Let the Mentimeter thing come. But I'm unable to put the why all this Google thing is coming. Yeah. Oh my God, so many things are coming now. How do I? Now, just a minute. How do I take care of the Menti now? Sign up. Log in. Okay, if it is not working, you can put in the chat box. Wait. We can put in the chat box how. Just a minute. Why is this not working, Mentimeter? I don't know. You can just put in the chat box all occasion and instances when assessment is done. I will wait for 2 minutes completely for all the answers. Sound is not clear.
No, ma'am, clear.
Here, no? Somebody has written sound is not clear. You can put in the chat box, please. This is the question. All occasion and instances when assessment is done. Okay, Sandhya madam writes after any instruction is given. This one word. Examination assessment is done. All right, fine. Then before exams, all right. Deepika Pathak ma'am is writing only good evening. When are the instances when you assess people? When you assess things? Interview, okay. Very good. One is interview. Somebody wrote exams. Then any exam, any counseling. Okay, fine. Yes, training, quizzes, fine. Quizzes, the assessment is open. We assess only any occasion? Okay, which are the occasions? Which are the occasions? See, take your mind out of the school tests. Then you will be able to understand, answer many more things. Query, okay. Screening, okay. Test, questionnaire, interaction, very good. So we got during interaction, during mentoring, very good. During examination, during games, any other, during meetings, during activities. Yes, dear madam, very good answers. Then what else? Even when you meet people for the first time, we start assessing, right? Yes or no? If yes, put an Y in the chat box. When we meet people for the first time, we start assessing. Yes, during the learning process, even when you go to a new place, we start assessing, right? When we go to a new place, visit to new place, we assess. Meeting new people or meeting people for the first time, we assess. Have you ever thought of, have we ever realized that we assess even when people come in a different costume than their own? If you feel it is right, if you agree with me, put an A in the chat box. If you agree with what I'm saying, then put an A in the chat box. Yes, so many of you are writing A. That means that is okay, right? Now to close the Menti now. Oh, so sorry. Yeah. So now the next slide. Characteristics. What are the characteristics of assessment? Assessment focuses on measuring learning progress and achievement. We have already done. Any other characteristic of assessment you can put in the chat box, please? Any other characteristic of assessment? What is assessment like? Chandrasekhar, okay, interpretation. Okay, what are the characteristics? Like, these are all definitions of okay, because of specific, very good assessment should be specific, reliable. Okay, these are properties of assessment. Characteristics. Anupama ma'am, thank you. To judge anybody, okay, assessment. Consistent, fine. Madhvi ma'am is writing logical, wonderful. So assessment is primarily formative in nature, providing ongoing feedback, right? And specific. Okay, these are properties. Now, even evaluation focuses on making judgments and decisions based on collected data, right? And evaluation is primarily summative, providing an overall judgment. So now we have to understand the difference between assessment and evaluation. Both are the process of analysis, both are the process of assessment, both of them measure the progress, yet there are some distinct differences. Now, what are these distinct differences? One is ongoing process and another one is overall. So can you name, as per our CBSE pattern, oh God, as per our CBSE concern, like CBSE method, can you name a few tests which are conducted in your schools, which mark assessment, and few which denote evaluation? My question is, Parul ma'am is writing formative assessment. All right. Formative assessment is what? What is that name? Which are the unit tests? Kiran Tripathi ma'am, wonderful. Unit tests. Then summative assessment, what are they? Copy assessment, notebook assessment, okay. Multiple assessment, class tests, what are these? These are assessments. Then what are evaluations? Subject enrichment is also assessment. What are evaluation? Periodic evaluation. Nobody is giving the term. Yes, projects. Sonali ma'am, thank you. Projects, portfolios, and main term and exams, half yearly and final exam. The second, term exams are, yes, map assessment, right? These are assessment. Evaluation are assessment and evaluation go side by side for us, because our evaluation system in CBSE is continuous. It is not one day test or one day assessment. That is why so many tests are taken. I am sure all teachers will agree with me when I say that CBSE is so student friendly that we do not stop children's progress if they miss some assessments, right? If you agree with me, put an A in the chat box, please. Yes, many of you are putting A in the chat box. Now, next thing is, what is the purpose of assessment? Can you put in the chat box what is the purpose of assessment? Can you put in the chat box what is the purpose of assessment? Yes. For improvement, all right. To check understanding, to check progress, fantastic. One main thing everybody is writing to check all-round development, fantastic. Rita madam, to see students practice. Komal ma'am, yes, wonderful. You are writing feedback. That is a very important word. Purpose is feedback. Feedback of what? Purpose is feedback. Develop effective learning. Very good. Very good. I'm not able to see the name. Improvement. All right. Swati ma'am is writing holistic development. Niba ma'am is writing performance. Okay. Reinforcement. Understanding topic. Right. So feedback of teaching and learning. Shikha Mishra madam, superb. Superb. That is the purpose. Actual purpose is to find out, to get a feedback on our teaching. Right. It is not a feedback on something like, for the students learning alone. It is our teaching also, right? So the next one is to help students demonstrate their learning, to provide feedback on the errors made by students, and as you said, opportunities to students to better their performance with each assessment, right? This is very important. We, the students should get opportunity. This is actually CBSC rule or CBSC format, we may say, test after test, so that children improve, children get the opportunities to improve their performance and better their understanding after each assessment. Now, a thought-provoking questions, teachers. Do we actually give them an opportunity to learn, to experiment, to fail, and grow ahead? Or, yes, somebody has written skill development. That's very true. Yes, not exactly. Or is it because so many tests are being lined up, we are taking tests? So if, again, listen to the question carefully. If we are giving them opportunities to learn from their mistakes, to enhance their performance, then we should not get bugged up when they don't perform well. What should we do if they don't perform well? Put in the chat box. If they don't perform well, what should we do? Supposing, yeah, we could encourage them. How? We must guide them. How? What is the exact thing that we do? We must empathize with them. What? Try to change the method. Dear madam, very nice. Change our strategy. Superb. Whoever has written the name is not visible, but changing the strategy is a beautiful, wonderful answer. Remedial, Monica ma'am. Monica Menon ma'am, remedial methods, wonderful. But is it always remedial methods which work, and how? Is it has to be motivating the students. How do we motivate? Let us give them a taste of success. Identifying the mistakes. Superb. Taste of success. Children who are not performing, when you make the blueprint of the question paper, it is just 1 hour session. If it was a full day, we would have made you do the blueprint of question paper. When you do the blueprint of question paper, what do? 40% of the questions for this category of students, and we always keep 10%, 20% HOTS. What is HOTS? Higher order thinking skills. That is for the children who are much above, par excellence. And why do we keep at least 40% of the questions which everybody can answer? So that they get the taste of success. Once you perform better, we always say, when you are praised, you are raised. And once you are raised, your self-esteem is raised, you will not try to come down. So let us make that point. If children perform worse, if they do not perform as per our expectation, we have to change our strategies. So that is the thing, that is what is one enhancing process. Next one is components of assessment process. There are several components. One is observation, one is written records, one is portfolio, and one is information. Now tell me, we say POWI, POWI. Now what is it? Do we do observation in the class? Before assessment, what do we observe? How do we observe? How do we do observation for the children? How do we do observation for the children? Say. What is it? Nobody is writing, or I'm not able to see? Interest. Do you observe when the child is doing previous knowledge? Yes. Absolutely, dear ma'am. Previous knowledge, we just a minute. What is this? Previous, ask questions. Okay, that. Yes. Yes, wonderful. Behavior of the students. Then what else do we observe? Apart from the behavior, what else do we observe? Previous knowledge, behavior, and then what else? We observe once somebody has written action. Okay, action. We observe the behavior, we observe results. Yes, we observe the behavior, we observe the, skill we test. We don't observe, actually skill we test. We observe the previous knowledge, and what else? Doubts of children. Okay, we observe. We observe, Deepa Mishra ma'am, we observe the changes. Yes, absolutely. We observe the change. And one very important thing, which we always miss out, we talk about it. What we miss out is another strategy. Number 2 is when you observe, let us observe their graph, right? Whatever be the previous score, whether the graph is constant and it is moving ahead, going up, or it is coming down, that is nobody, we all know, but we hardly observe, right? And even if we observe, we hardly notice. There is a difference between just seeing and then noticing. Seeing, noticing, and keeping in mind is observation, right? When the doctor observes, doctor keeps in observation. We say 24 hours observation. We say 5 hours observation. What does the doctor observe? Is it only seeing? No, so many tests are going on, so many records the doctor observes. The same way for us, we teachers, the doctors take care of our health, of our body, of our life, but we teachers take care of the career. So we are the doctors to their careers. If you agree with me, put an A in the chat box, that to a capital one. If you agree with me, yes, Renu ma'am, absolutely. Monica ma'am, A, thank you. Kiran ma'am, thank you. Sangeeta ma'am, thank you. Nivedita ma'am, Neeli ma'am, Mona ma'am. So many Mona ma'ams are there. Rajdeep ma'am, Sandhya ma'am, all of you are writing A, capital A. Lata ma'am, that means we all agree we are doctors to their career. So don't you think everything starts with observation? So can we observe children? Strategy number 2, observe children, their performance. Children means not they are getting, वो खड़े हो रहे हैं तो हम observe कर रहे हैं, बैठ रहे तो observe कर रहे हैं, कोई किसी के साथ बैठ गया तो observe कर रहे हो, वैसा नहीं होता है. उनके performance को observe करिए, उन किस तरह वो आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, उनके डेवलपमेंट को ऑब्जर्व करिए. ऑब्जर्वेशन इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर इन एनहांसिंग द असेसमेंट प्रोसेस. देन रिटन रिकॉर्ड्स. हम रिटन रिकॉर्ड्स में क्या देखते हैं बच्चों का? व्हाट डू वी सी? यू कैन पुट इन द चैट बॉक्स प्लीज. रिटन रिकॉर्ड में क्या देखते हैं हम? थिंकिंग पावर नहीं, थिंकिंग पावर, रिटन वे ऑफ प्रेजेंटेशन, राइटिंग स्किल्स, absolute understanding, performance, wonderful. Shagupta ma'am, Shefta Parveen ma'am, very good. Improvement, yes. Scholastic and co-scholastic, yes. Understanding the knowledge, creativity, lot of things, concept presentation. So सारी चीजें जो एग्जाम में चाहिए, imaginative skills, अलग अलग सब्जेक्ट्स में हम रिटन रिकॉर्ड्स में वो एसेस कर लेते हैं. एक्चुअली जो हम टेस्ट ले रहे हैं, असेसमेंट होता है, वो हम रिटन का ही करते हैं, राइट? If you are convinced with my statement, put a capital C in the chat box. If yes, Avdesh sir, improvement is perfect. We do observe. Yes, capital C. And if you are confused, put a small c. Yes, Aparna ma'am, thank you. Capital C डालिए यदि आपको लगता है कि हम most 90%, 80 to 90% of the time, we only see the written records. And then we say this child is not performing well. या क्या हमने उन बच्चों को ऑब्जर्वेशन किया है, क्यों नहीं परफॉर्म हो रहा, कहाँ से ग्राफ डाउन हुआ है, कैसा है, क्या हमने उनके बैकग्राउंड इंफॉर्मेशन में आप क्या देखते हैं? रिपोर्ट कार्ड, सीबीएसई रिपोर्ट कार्ड में माय गॉड, हेल्थ कार्ड, होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट कार्ड, होलिस्टिक प्रोग्रेस कार्ड, कितना कुछ आ गया है. So many trainings are being conducted. But have we seen their health record? Have we seen their background? नहीं होता है. We normally focus on one area out of the 4. So hum maximum, no, only marks. Thank you, honest confession. So maximum time we observe the written records. But you know this NEP that is coming now is what? Why is it? अभी धीरे धीरे खुद ब खुद, maybe this is the transition phase. ग्रेजुअली जैसे हम आगे बढ़ते जाएंगे एनईपी के साथ, उससे क्या होगा, बच्चों का बहुत ऑलराउंड डेवलपमेंट, जो हम बोलते थे, हमने बोला होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट, यस निभा मैम, होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट, लेकिन अभी असेसमेंट प्रॉपर होगा. वो अभी हम वो कितना गुस्सा कर रहे हैं, कौन इरिटेटेड हो रहे हैं, कौन बच्चे होमवर्क नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो ऑब्जर्व नहीं करेंगे. बच्चे कैसे बड़े हो रहे हैं, बच्चे कैसे अपना काम पूरा कर रहे हैं, बच्चे क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. We will now check those things, right? If you agree with me, put an A in the chat box, please. Thank you, Aradhana Singh madam, for the emoji. Yes, great, great. अभी एक और करते हैं टाइप्स ऑफ असेसमेंट. ये जानना इसलिए जरूरी है क्योंकि we need to assess children based on our knowledge and understanding. One is performance assessment, second is formative, and third तो आपको पता ही होगा summative assessment. ठीक है? अब ये performance assessment क्या है? Any idea? थोड़ा सा आप भी थोड़ी सी कोशिश कर लीजिए. ये performance assessment क्या है? Allow me to have just a sip of water, please. Classroom assessment is not performance assessment alone. पर ये ना written assessment की बात सोचकर बताइए. Project based, yes, to some extent project based. Students knowledge, subject enrichment नहीं. Students knowledge अपर्णा मैडम वो भी सही है. Their result based on what? Assessment, not the result. आप तो evaluation में चले गए मैडम. Task, yes, Renu ma'am, please elaborate. Task means what? What is the task which we are experience learning? Okay, activity. Renu ma'am was very close to the answer. Task. So देखिए ना अभी क्या हो रहा है? What assignment given to them? Okay, assignment given to them. We go with that. Project and practice. Yes, it requires students to perform a task rather than select an answer. ये सब वो जो multiple choice. Sometimes they do. I feel it is like that. They don't start. Yes, learning by doing. It is learning by doing and then learning. Yes. Then for formative is monitoring. Yes, wonderful. All of you are thinking and writing. Monitoring progress during instruction, learning progress. ये जो formative होता है ना, आप लोग कितने form में test लेते हैं? Oral test, small test, quizzes, then practice test, and 10th standard, 12th standard में तो पता नहीं कितने कितने tests होते हैं. So all these are all formative tests. And actually the formative test is preparing them for the next bigger test, that is the summative test, which is assessing how well the student did at the end of the unit. Give any example. Supposing आपने heights and elevation पढ़ाया है, या supposing आपने trigonometrical ratios पढ़ाए हैं maths में, right? So what is this? The first thing is children have learned. एक example दे रहे, ध्यान से सुनिए. Children have learned the ratios by heart. ठीक है? So they, when you go on taking tests, they will go on answering, right? After 1 week or 10 days, then you take, after a week, you take another chapter as test. Another chapter to teach. Then you start taking tests. Children have learned the formula, they put the answer, right? Then sometimes when you take the summative test, you see some children do very well in the formative test, but summative में उनके marks कम हो जाते हैं. Why? Because mathematics is very objective. I'm taking this example. तो क्या होता है? जैसे भूल जाते हैं. It is not भूल जाते हैं. This is because they have just learned the formula and the stereotypic questions they answer. But when it comes to summative, it is a big test. It is understanding. You follow the blueprint and so many things, and there they get caught. So they get less score. So what we have to do is when we are progressing, go on revising. You keep giving them some sums. Strategy number 3, right? Do not leave a chapter unattended to for a long time. Choti classes, maybe all say, in smaller classes, they perform so well. Why? Because the teachers are doing oral drilling, the teachers are practicing, making them write, and so many things going on. But वही होता है senior class में आने के बाद, what do? They just teach, and then somehow we say we have to finish the portion. So this strategy number 3 is do not leave the chapter neglected. Keep on making, it should go into their system. That is what we are assessing. And actually formative is how far we have been able to reach out to them. Sanjay Verma, sir, you can put your question in the chat box, sir, so that we can, I can answer your question. Okay, so these 3 types of assessment are main we talk about. We take tests and all. But the next type of assessment is, you see, understanding the 5 strategies. Okay, 3 strategies I have already discussed with you. These are 5 different strategies which you have to understand so that we can enhance. What I did is I tried keeping them at all the knowing level, first level, so that it's easy for you to understand. First is the summative assessment, because that is the assessment we are taking at the end of the unit. That is the assessment which is resulting in evaluation, and then we give score. Lot of things we do based on this assessment. Lot of things we infer. Next is the formative assessment. Why formative assessment? After one summative is over, we get ready for the next unit. And unit after unit after unit, it goes to some summative again. Next is the diagnostic assessment. Okay, diagnostic, because ये formative summative के बाद क्या होता है, कभी कभी आप देखिए first assessment term and first summative में बच्चे बहुत अच्छा कर लेते हैं, second summative आता final में they are not able to perform well. Why? Because वो first जो किया था पिछले last year का continuity था. अभी new chapters they are not understanding, especially in accounts and all, you know. The beginning chapters they do well. Now diagnostic assessment, the next one is benchmarking assessment, and finally continuous assessment. You must be thinking, yes, somebody has written something. Let me just see. Just give me some time because the chat box is getting neglected, you know. Shut up, Parveen madam has written, when they are not understanding only, they are remembering, they can forget that. Absolutely, ma'am. They have to understand the concept actually. It is not understanding the subject, the concept. Revision and repetition, Mona Yadav, ma'am, absolutely. Otherwise, you know, it goes off unless we practice. Nagendra sir is writing something. Okay. Thank you. Somebody has written nice session. Is it because you're getting bored or is it because you're understanding? Okay. You must be seeing why all first we start with formative, then summative, then continuous. Why they are all here and there? That is because what I've done is we have started, taking it in a way that you understand better in terms of knowing. One is summative is knowing what you know. That is at the end of the test, end of the unit, maybe half a term, for half yearly, we see 3-4 units we have taught them, and then we are checking what they know, knowing what you know. Here in the formative, knowing what you don't know. Why? Because for unit test, formative test, we take small portions, and then when they are not able to perform, then we check, oh my God, this chapter, this very difficult. Supposing we are teaching them physics. Okay, we have taught a chapter, you taught them electricity. Then we have taught them, they understood, we took a test. Then next when we take their numericals, they're not able to answer. Why? Because the concept is not clear. So knowing what you don't know is formative. So summative assessment is we get to know what the children already know because they perform. Formative is we get to know what the children don't know. Why? Because after every unit we are taking. Diagnostic is knowing the gap. Just now I explained that no summative and formative. And knowing the gap, where is the gap? Why children? This diagnostic is observation, assessment, everything put together. Then benchmarking. Benchmarking assessment is Razi sir, thank you. Or Razi ma'am, thank you. Knowing how you compare. Now, benchmarking assessment is very good for us, for we principals. We enjoy doing the benchmarking assessment because we compare section to section. We compare teachers to teachers. We compare school to school. And if there are other schools, sisters concerned, we do that. But it is actually beneficial for the teachers who are going to the classroom. We neglect this. And what are we actually comparing? When we compare the strategies, we just compare teachers to teachers. Section A and C, one teacher is taking, children are doing so well. Section D and B, some other teacher is taking, maybe there is some problem. Then फिर कहते हैं हम ना कि अरे इस क्लास ये टीचर्स जो है ना ये इनके क्लासेस में अच्छा होता है, इनके क्लासेस में प्रॉब्लम्स होता है. हो सकता है ये टीचर पूरा कंपेयर नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, हो सकता है ये टीचर्स उतने एक्सप्रेसिव नहीं है. फिर क्या करते हैं, हो सकता है इस बैच में बच्चे अच्छे नहीं हैं, हो सकता है, और वी कंपेयर ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ कंपैरिजंस रिलेटेड टू द मार्क्स, राइट. देन वी सी अरे उस स्कूल में बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस है, या फिर हमारे अगर 3-4 ब्रांचेस है, लाइक वी हैव सो मेनी डीएवी स्कूल्स, दे शेयर देयर क्वेश्चन पेपर्स एंड ऑल, तो वहां का परफॉर्मेंस अच्छा है, यहाँ नहीं है. केंद्रीय विद्यालय में भी से परफॉर्मेंस इज वेरी गुड. तो ये सब कंपैरिजन होता है. पर क्या आपको पता है क्या चीज कंपेयर करना है बेंचमार्किंग असेसमेंट में? बेंचमार्किंग असेसमेंट में वी हैव टू कंपेयर द चिल्ड्रंस परफॉर्मेंस, right? It is not the teacher's performance at all. It is children's performance, because if the child, let us correlate. So the strategy number 4 is knowing and growing, right? Okay, thank you, Mahesh Kumar sir. Knowing and growing. Let the children know their potential. Let the children know where is the gap. Let the children know what they don't know. Let the children know how much they know. And then they let them compare. So knowing and growing is benchmarking assessment. This is not there in any book, right? Because we studied, we did, we worked out, thanks to my team, my exam department, and my school teachers, and thanks to all the schools where I've gone for sessions and all, and to all the schools where I've did knowledge sharing, where I've done knowledge sharing and getting so many inputs. Then we thought, yes, weekly spelling test is formative, madam. So then we get to know. Yes, weekly spelling test is a wonderful example. जैसे बच्चों का स्पेलिंग्स कुछ कुछ बच्चे होते हैं उनका याद ही नहीं होता है, कितना भी याद करवाए गड़बड़ होती है. लेकिन जब हम बेंचमार्किंग असेसमेंट करते हैं ना, तो उन्हीं का परफॉर्मेंस को बेंचमार्क करते हैं. हम लोग कहते हैं एनेक्डोटल रिकॉर्ड, पोर्टफोलियो क्या है, दिस इज व्हाट इज देयर. जब हम सीबीएसई में मार्क्स भेजते हैं तो कितने सारे कॉलम्स बना के हम अपना असेस करते हैं. क्या करते हैं उस समय, तो हमको मार्क्स देने की जल्दी होती है, we give the marks, but it is actually knowing what you know and knowing how you compare and what you compare. And continuous assessment is knowing how you are tracking. But yes, surprise tests are also diagnostic assessment. Surprise tests are diagnostic assessment. See, what is happening is how you are tracking, that matters. किस तरह हम ट्रैक कर रहे हैं, ये नहीं कि we are just telling them कि यहाँ परफॉर्मेंस में गैप है, ये कर लो, याद नहीं किया है फॉर्मूले, वो याद कर लो, बहुत सारा प्रैक्टिस करो. You need practice. It is not that. Let them see, understand, and learn. What we can do is, CBSE says the best way to teach is not to teach. Why? Then do what? What will the teachers do? They will facilitate the learning of the children. Okay, but we are not giving them time, teachers, because we also don't have time. Everybody is running short of time these days. Everything has become so compatible, so easy, but still we lack time. We used to make report cards, we used to make mark registers, we used to write and write and write 3 times entry. Now teachers correct, my God, what kingship. They just enter the marks and everything the ERP is doing. But still we are running short of time. But we had all the time on earth for our children. How was that? That is because our assessment strategies were very different. So the fifth strategy is know your children. Okay, know what you know, knowing what you don't know, knowing if there is a gap, knowing how you compare, knowing how you are tracking, is knowing so many things. But before that, know your children, right? So we say KYC, know your children, or KYS, know your students, right? So KYC for bank is know your customer, but for us, it is know your children, right? If you are convinced, capital C, please. And if you're confused, small c. Very good, very good. So many people are writing capital C. अब एक छोटा सा step देखते हैं, steps of assessment process, so that we can enhance it further. 5 strategies I have given you, enhancement strategies, right? See, first is identify the learning outcomes. Where do we put the learning outcomes? How do we, or where do we mention the learning outcomes? Jitendra sir, thank you for the clap. Where do we put the learning outcomes? Lesson plan, ma'am. Madhi ma'am, lesson plan, learning outcome. This is the, what do we do is, we just mention the learning outcome in the lesson plan. But where do we assess? We assess in the tests. Yes, report card. We put the assessment in the report card. Then we determine methods of assessment for each student learning outcome. So many methods we use, so many types of questions. Then we use project method. And the most common method these days is retest method. If the child is not able to qualify once, retest, retest, so that children learn, right? Yes, everything test is absolutely. Then we gather evidence. We interpret the evidence. Evidence is what? The lesson plan, the marks, their performance, their project work, then the skill test. And after resulting, after the results being tested, reviewed, what do? We implement the changes. So this is what is the steps in, it's a cyclic step in assessment process, right? Assessment process has got a cyclic step. So yes, report card, but our assessment is like this. We all teachers from, KG to PG, they will follow one assessment cycle. That is why we say, why somebody is doing this? Prakash Vinay sir, what is the problem? Prakash Vinay Anand sir, why that cry face? Okay, clapping face. Okay, thank you. So what we do is we form a cycle. Why assessment is a cyclic process? Because this never ends. Life is an assessment. Do you agree with it? If you feel what I'm saying is true, put a T in the chat box, please. Life is an assessment. Yes, yes. How? Everybody is assessing each other. Time is assessing us. The superiors are assessing their people, the subordinates. The friends are assessing their peers. Time is assessing all of us. The students are assessing us. Our kids are assessing us. We are getting assessed. In turn, we are assessing people. Yes, we assess ourselves. Sonia ma'am, absolutely. So, entire thing is a cyclic process. Now, this cycle, if one step you miss, then there is a gap, right? Society is always assessing, absolutely, Diya madam. So one step missed means there is a gap. Abhi dekhte, what is this 3E approach? Have you heard of it before? The 3E approach is to educate, to encourage, and then enlighten, right? So we did taste of success. When you're praised, you are raised. So first is educate our children. Educate is not only to get marks, to enhance their learning, right? We will educate our children to enhance their learning. Then we will encourage them, and then we enlighten them, right? Encourage for what? For every little performance. You cannot give appreciation letters or keep on writing in the diary, but to positively reinforce their performance, keep praising them. Yes, thank you, Anisha ma'am. Keep praising them, right? So the 3E approach is very, very important. Parents are also assessing every time. Parents are not only assessing, they're finding fault also. They're blaming. But we can't help it because most of us are also touchy parents. We also become very touchy. Why my child is not performing? What is the teacher doing? See, it's very common these days. If the child is performing well, the child is very good. And if the child's marks are low, the teacher is bad. So what do? The parents are not only assessing. Assessment is much beyond criticism and grading. Thank you, ma'am. Assessment is much beyond criticism and grading, So what we have to do is for this 3 approach, first we have to modify the student learning outcomes. Then we have to measure. We have to redesign. And thank you, very meaningful and enriching session. Thank you. Then collect, discuss data. These are the tests. And then we determine the refinements which are based on this data, then again modify. So this is going on, we do modify. We make a question paper based on the CBSE guideline, right? Then we see 40% of the class has failed. Then what do? We make an easy paper. Why? So that those children pass and go to the next higher class. And then who's supposed to jello with them? The other teacher. अरे हमारे क्लास से तो हो गया, रीटेस्ट रीटेस्ट ऐसे चलता रहता है. तो हम तो कंटिन्यूअसली उसको मॉडिफाई कर रहे हैं, परंतु हमें तरीके से, कायदे से मॉडिफाई करना है. किस एरिया में मॉडिफिकेशन जरूरी है वो देखना है. कहाँ बच्चों का, हम बच्चों को एसेस कर रहे हैं, हमको क्वेश्चन पेपर और बच्चों के परफॉर्मेंस को एसेस करना है. ये बहुत जरूरी है. वी विल एसेस परफॉर्मेंस बाबा, वी विल नॉट एसेस द चिल्ड्रन, राइट? बच्चों को असेस करना तो बहुत आसान है, लेकिन उनके परफॉर्मेंस को असेस करके उसको एडुकेट करके एनकरेज करके एनलाइटन करना बहुत मुश्किल है. देखिए ना, अभी आधे घंटे 1 घंटे के सेशन में यदि आप 15 मिनट भी लेते हैं, देन यू आर एनलाइटेंड. ये जितना कुछ हुआ, मेंटी कुड नॉट वर्क, सो वी डिस्कस हियर, नो प्रॉब्लम. बट असेसमेंट इज, all the assessment should target to one thing, assessment and evaluation. The biggest strategy is assessment and evaluation should target one thing. And what is that thing? That is the improvement, continuous growth and improvement, right? Abhi dekhiye, cycle assessment cycle mein kya hai, what do the teachers need to do? This is very, very important. Show them the art of, make them do the art of living to understand the integral elements of the latest structure of assessment. Right? देखिए हमने बोला identify outcomes, develop methodology, gather and interpret evidence, and then implement change, and the cycle goes on. Right? So to optimize learning and development in all students, yeah, optimizing is very, very important. Many methods to be applied, absolutely. Then the objective is what? First is teachers need to understand the elements of latest structure of assessment. ये तो हमने discuss किया. Most of you know, all of you are leaders in your area, so we don't have anything to say in this. You will rather tell me how assessments, which assessment has to be taken. Then the objective, our objective of assessment should be to strengthen the cycle of assessment. Right? And the purpose of multiple assessments. Why multiple assessment? Why subject enrichment activities? Because it is for the children to enhance their learning. हमारी learning strategy, teaching strategies और assessment strategies को enhance करने से बच्चों का learning में भी enhancement होता है, right? एंड सबसे बड़ी बात है को स्कॉलस्टिक. बहुत सारे टीचर्स हैं जो बोर्ड एग्जामिनीज को डिप्राइव कर देते हैं, कोई चीज में पार्टिसिपेट करने नहीं देते हैं. बहुत से बच्चे हैं, बहुत से पेरेंट्स हैं जो कहते हैं कि बच्चा पढ़ाई करेगा और ये सब ये काम माने ये जो टेस्ट है दे थिंक दैट इट इज ऑफ नो यूज. परंतु याद रखिए ये है 21st सेंचुरी स्किल्स और हर एक्टिविटी में असेसमेंट छुपा हुआ है. आपको क्या पता बच्चा यदि लिख नहीं पा रहा, when the child starts speaking and expressing, then the child may be able to write. कभी ऐसा होता बच्चे नर्वस रहते हैं, बोल नहीं पाते हैं तो वो लिख भी नहीं पाते. कभी ऐसा होता बच्चे पढ़ नहीं पाते तो वो लिख भी नहीं पाते हैं. So this is very important and continuous assessment. Assessment is not one day. इसीलिए हमने शुरू में प्रश्न पूछा था which are the occasions when we assess. जिस तरह हमारे असेसमेंट चलते रहते हैं. आप देखिए ना किसी दिन in my own school some days when I don't smile, people come and ask me, my teachers come and ask me, ma'am, are you not well? Ma'am, is everything fine? Sometimes when you see your principals, all your principals, you know, will be are you know working for the betterment of the school and they're all the time available with you. Sometimes it so happens if the principal ma'am or principal sir does not give you leave, then you say pata nahi aaj kaisa mood hai, ma'am, is everything fine? All the while because you're assessing us. We know we are getting assessed. Sometimes you say, oh, she's not in a good mood, he's not in a good mood, we should not go and ask now. Sometimes we talk, even not only in school, in workplace, at home also. We do the same thing with our children, especially adolescents. बच्चे जब बड़े हो जाते हैं ना उनका, you see so many mothers, they are scared to ask their children certain questions because yes, it always happens. Thank you, ma'am. That क्या परवीन मैम, थैंक यू. सो क्यों बच्चों को बोलने में डर लगता है, अभी कौन से क्या मूड में होगा, दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है. सो मेनी टाइम्स टीचर्स वी आर सो स्कैर्ड because whether it is our school children at school or children at home, we don't know what is going on in their mind, we don't know how they will retaliate. So that is also assessment. तो यदि हम उसको इतने डीपली असेस कर सकते हैं अपने बच्चों को, बिहेवियर को, तो उनके लर्निंग को क्यों नहीं उतना डीपली असेस कर देंगे, कर लेंगे. अब आप सोचिए, दिस इज अ स्मॉल स्टेटमेंट. Assessment is not only testing the child's learning, but a feedback on our teaching to reach out to every child so that no child is left behind. This is what CBSE says, no child is left behind. So assessment is just like that. Every child should benefit. Only then do we succeed in our assessment. This is the final strategy, you know. Every child should learn, no child should be left behind, irrespective of what marks they score. Abhi aayega, effective assessment should be relevant, should be clear about what learners need to do and with clear assessment criteria. This is effective assessment. So effective assessment is a challenge to all the learners. And how do we ensure the correct feedback? This is, oh, sorry. This is little different, little more than what I wanted to add in this. We have to deconstruct the standards. Zaruri nahi, formative assessment is in your hands, teachers, in our hands. Formative assessment may what we have to do is you deconstruct the standards, then we align the items as per the students' strategy. You know, if you want your children to perform at this level and you find them at this level, then what you have to do is you have to plan strategies to take them to that level and then take the summative test. Nobody will stop you. from taking 10 tests, 5 tests. But test should not be a burden on anybody, whether it is the teacher who's correcting or the children who are answering. You create valid and reliable assessment and make assessment a part of planning and learning. So subject enrichment activities are enhanced through a powerful tool, 4As. I am very fond of giving the acronyms. If you are ready to learn, then I will give the 4As. Are you ready? If you are ready, put an R in the chat box. The 4As. Yes. The 4As are activate the previous knowledge, acquire new knowledge, analyze their learning, and assess their learning. So it is activation, acquiring, analysis, and assessment. Right. So these are the 4. You can take a screenshot, you can copy down and keep, you can take a picture, whatever you want. Now, how should SCs be done? Now, I don't think the Padlet link will work. Let me try once. If it works, you can fill up. Otherwise, we'll proceed. Let me see if it works. Is it working? Yes, it is coming. So what I'll do is, I will put a link, copy link to the, yes. So the final, I put the link in the chat box. Please just click and do so that very fast we can finish. At least one thing will be there with us so that after the session, you can see this and see your name and cherish. I have put the link several times. Just click on the link and you will start answering fast. Why and how should SEAs be done in classes? I've put, please share, she has written, shared, ma'am. So many times I'm putting in the chat box, those who are answering from the, oh, is it, sorry, I put to the panelist, wait. I'll put it to all attendees, to everyone. Yes, now I'm putting. Yes, now I put, so sorry, I put it to the panelist alone. Click and then start answering. Why and how should subject enrichment activities be done in classes? Just 1 line or 2 lines you can put. Interesting session. Thank you all those who are, I'm not able to see your names, but oh, so many people have started writing. Wonderful. Then I have to wait for a minute or so. Regularly. Okay, wonderful. Learning by doing. Okay. Many people are still writing. Yes, I have put the link now. So many, 22 people are answering. Please put your name at the end to enhance aptitude. Otherwise, I cannot acknowledge you. Please, after you are writing, put your name. Creativity, okay. It can be done by role play and yes, group discussion. Wonderful, wonderful. Learning games, yes, and interest. Karun sir, yeah, Diya ma'am to enhance understanding. Okay, wonderful. Please write your names, all of you. Sandhya madam has written beautifully. Madhvi Jha sir, ma'am has written learning and group discussion. Wonderful. See how beautifully you all are writing and all, involving children is sharing. Yes, Swati Prerna ma'am. Involving children in sharing their ideas. That's a wonderful way to assess. So many of them get assessed at the same time. Projects, revision, learning by doing. Yes. It enhance the new ideas of teachers. Okay. All right. Please write your name. Otherwise, I'm not able to acknowledge you. Wonderful. So many responses. Oh my God, still 10 of you are answering. So what I'll do is I will minimize this and we'll go to the next slide. Don't worry. We go on to if you're writing, continue writing. We go on to the next slide, please. Yeah, 4C is designed to support school and to integrate assessment strategies to teaching. These are the 4 C's which we have to remember. Very, very important. Critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. So this is not only for children, but for us too. If the teacher possesses these qualities, and the children will definitely follow her or learn from her. See, we have to arouse the thought in them. Always put thought-provoking situation and questions, not only in pen and paper, even during, yes, communication is a must. Prashant sir, absolutely. Communication is a must. Collaboration, creative activity. See, creativity, you have to think. We don't copy our own creations at SDSM. You know, this, you may feel ma'am is bragging, but that is a fact. We do not copy because we have to keep thinking and growing. The same thing again, Arvind sir, thank you. So we have to keep growing and working. The more you think, the more you create, the more you create, the more you collaborate. And remember, teachers, actual growth is in collaboration, not in competition. So these are the 4 C's to support. Now, evaluation. What is the process? It is, we just discussed, it's a process that critically examines the program, and evaluation we have already discussed. I am not saying great people have said. These are the characteristics of good evaluation. Already you have said reliability, objectivity, practicality, adequacy. You know, these are, okay. Now, some challenges of monitoring and evaluation and how to tackle them. These are the biggest challenges of evaluation: changing mindsets, aligning. You discussed about parents, resource constraints. We say sometimes, you know, why resource constraints? Because we are only aligned to textbook and lab. This is the resource constraint. Ask children to find out their resources and then come to you. And most important is the conditions of uncertainty. Today everything is fine, tomorrow we don't know what's. Some teachers, you know, something goes wrong and what we plan we are not able to do. So the role of teachers is to plan and manage assessment, to make accurate and productive use, and to use findings for the next steps. So this is the role of assessment. 3 more minutes left, we will finish with that, don't worry. Right, we have 3 slides more and 3 minutes, 4 minutes left. So now you see, we have to keep children in the heart of learning. This is a very important thing. The final, you know, compiling the summation is 2 things we have to remember: initial assessments and final assessments. Initial assessments are first step in the learning cycle. Identify the learner's needs, plan, teach, and monitor learning, and review your teaching. Then the cycle begins with this identifying, and it goes on with plan accordingly. And you see, the final step of assessment is, once the data is collected, the final step is to interpret and use these results, and you can address the deficiency. And that is, we did in the beginning, the strategies, understanding the strategies, the diagnostic assessment, the benchmarking assessment, and the continuous assessment comes from this, right? So this is very important. इनिशियल स्टेप एंड फाइनल स्टेप, ये दोनों को जानना बहुत जरूरी है. अब देखिए, असेसमेंट एंड इवैल्यूएशन, इतने डिस्कशन के बाद कुछ सिमिलैरिटीज है, कुछ डिफरेंसेस है. सिमिलैरिटी तो ये है कि एक ऑनगोइंग प्रोसेस है, पॉजिटिव है, इंडिविजुअलाइज्ड है. एंड इवैल्यूएशन, सॉरी, डिफरेंसेस, इवैल्यूएशन का जस्ट ऑपोजिट है. ये असेसमेंट जो होता है कंटिन्यूस होता है. वी डोंट से कंटिन्यूस इवैल्यूएशन, वी से कंटिन्यूस असेसमेंट. एंड इवैल्यूएशन जो है वो क्लोजर है, जजमेंटल है, शॉर्टफॉल्स दिखाता है. लेकिन दोनों में क्या है, दोनों का मेजर्स है, क्राइटेरिया है, एविडेंस ड्रिवन है. सो व्हाट इज मेजर्स, वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट. देखिए, असेसमेंट साइकिल और इवैल्यूएशन साइकिल दोनों में प्लानिंग है, इंप्रूवमेंट है, एंड मेजर्स है. सो अब मेजर्स क्या है देखते हैं. मेजर्स क्या है? Examples of measurement, assessment, and evaluation. Measurement is somebody got 25 out of 50 is the measurement. Assessment is the grade is good or bad, that is fair. And evaluation is where the child needs to focus, which part of the learning, which part of the question paper the child needs to focus and to develop more in these areas, right? And how the teacher has to plan the objectives and deliver the lesson. So ये तीनों एक ही है, लेकिन एक के बाद एक step है. Measurement हो गया, assessment, परंतु हम समझते हैं कि assessment means only giving test and answering and getting and knowing where the child has lost marks. It is not that. It is much beyond that. शुरू में हमने बोला था ना, it is much beyond that. That is why so many of you are giving compliments. So, but then I think what to do, I'm not able to answer because we are also running short of time. And yeah, so let us sum up. We start with the test. Test is a very small thing to measure your skills and knowledge. उसके बाद measurement आ जाता, अभी हमने बताया, जो data हमें मिला, उसके बाद assessment आ जाता, तो documentation होता है, और फिर finally evaluation होता है, जो actual measuring the teaching learning process. And evaluation, teachers, is our evaluation, right? We are getting evaluated. हमने कितना पढ़ाया, बच्चों ने कितना सीखा, हमने क्या पढ़ाया, बच्चों ने कितना सीखा, हमने कैसे पढ़ाया, बच्चों ने कितना सीखा, हमने क्या बताया और बच्चों ने क्या लिखा, right? This is evaluation. I wish we could all understand and go together. I wish there was only one question paper for all the schools in Sahodaya, and then we answer and then we realize where we are. Because abhi competition hi competition ho raha hai na, collaboration nahi. So abhi Sahodaya itself means collaboration. So let us collaborate, learn, and then assess. Any questions? So it is exactly 5 o'clock and I finished. Thank God. If there are no questions, then I'm going to show the most important slide of the day. Okay, thank you. I will just capture the chat box and then leave. Let me stop sharing.
Thank you, ma'am. It was
Just
very
a minute.
nice
Let
and
me
informative.
capture the chat box, Baba.
Okay, ma'am.
Oh my God. Just a minute. Let me share and capture the chat box again. Because, you know, I see their things and then I use it for the next sessions.